Alright folks, happy Sunday the 3rd of December. Thought it was time I did another YouTube video. So I'm just going to be walking into Cambridge, so you might see some sights of Cambridge. Before I get started, I just wanted to say that I'm not a doctor. I'm not medically trained. Anything I say, don't believe. In fact, what I'm saying, and probably what a lot of people who've woken up and done research are saying, is the answer is to do your own research and to find out for yourself. Really, that is the awakening process. So I'm not suggesting or telling you to do anything. This is merely information based on my journey, and your journey will be different to that, but I hope it helps. That being said then, so I was looking at my favourite LinkedIn platform the other day, and I see a number of people are posting where they're having to leave work because of serious illnesses. There's also another couple I noticed who'd died suddenly. A connection of mine who's 44, looked very fit and healthy. So I'm saying it in that context, and I've also had some things happen in my family as well. So and then I noticed what some people say on their posts. It's like recommending more sort of medical interventions, or recommending, I don't know, things like sunscreen. Let's take that as an example. I mean, I could pick any product really, but let's take sunscreen. Now, when I was a child, we didn't really bother with sunscreen, or at least not to the extent that they do today. So what we would tend to do is keep out of the sun, or I guess like back in the past, people would wear more protective clothing, and then now it seems like there's this obsession with putting sunscreen on. Now, I'm not saying I don't use sunscreen. I do. Sparingly. If I'm in Thailand and it's sweltering hot in the middle of the day and I want to go out, I'll put the sunscreen on. But it's not just an automatic thing. And I know an example here of the way things have gone in this country now is I know that in nurseries, once the strength of the sun gets above a certain level, they put the sunscreen on the children immediately in this country, even if they're just going out to play for a few hours, and in what happens to be quite a shaded, wooded area. So what I'm saying there is, basically, we didn't used to use sunscreen. Now it's like recommended all the time if it's a slight bit of sun. Of course, we know the sun gives us vitamin D, or causes vitamin D to be produced in our bodies, which is extremely important. So stopping that is known to be an issue. And then they say take vitamin D supplements, assuming they're safe, of course, and natural and not full of chemicals. Let's make that assumption. Excuse me. So, where was I? So we didn't used to use stuff like sunscreen in the past, and now it's everyone uses it. And I don't know if you've actually read the back of the sunscreen bottle and looked at the ingredients in there. I mean, it's a massive list. I have this habit of looking into absolutely every product that I use. Toothpaste, floor cleaner, washing powder, and look at the products, look at the ingredients, and look at how they're made. Now you might think, well, it's a big effort to do that, but it is worthwhile doing, because sunscreen, like many other products, contains a lot of chemicals in it, and these chemicals haven't been tested over a long period of time, with a control group, say people that haven't used sunscreen versus people that have used sunscreen, and to see the effects on them. And the skin is your biggest organ in your body, and it just absorbs everything you put on it. So this is why I know, like, ladies with cosmetics, there's quite a big movement moving away from the sort of chemicalized cosmetics to more natural products, because when you put those on you, it just gets absorbed straight into you. Like when you use shower gel or hair products, it's just going straight into your bloodstream. And there's all sorts of reports that have come out over the years about the danger of these products that people are told are safe. One that comes to mind is baby powder, Johnson & Johnson, and they've been sued millions and millions. So things tend to come out later, after the industry itself has tried to withhold and block information, and then they have to defend lawsuits. Another one is glyphosate, which is used a lot in agriculture, and this was owned by Monsanto, and Monsanto, I believe, got bought, or this division of Monsanto got bought by Bayer Pharmaceuticals, and now they're facing huge amounts of lawsuits from people that have got cancer. Maybe it's working with this chemical, but it is actually put on the food and we eat it, and it is present in a lot of our. I mean, they do things like urine tests. It's present in our urine, so it's in our bodies. So they're facing massive lawsuits. That's just a couple of examples. You could probably go through lots and lots of different products over the years. I mean, cigarettes is one, which might seem crazy now. You look at it and think, well, of course it's bad smoking. But if you go back in the day and look at the videos of what was said at the time when cigarettes were being promoted, they were being promoted by doctors and dentists. There's like pictures of doctors smoking cigarettes and saying how wonderful they are. So, I guess this is giving quite a few examples here where what I'm saying is that what is received medical wisdom does change over time, and we're not in this inexorable rise to more and more truth coming out, which is what they try and say. Well, we're learning all the time and we're improving all the time, and once we find out there's a problem, then we'll correct that mistake. So don't worry, everyone, everything's getting better and better. But I would really challenge that sort of zeitgeist, let's call it, just general sort of thinking that people have. And I've just given a few examples there. I mean, glyphosate is still used everywhere. If you buy any products that are vegetable, fruit that is not organic, then it'll probably have glyphosate on, and lots of other stuff as well. So anyway, back to the sunscreen, and I do use it, and with my eyes open, I know what's in it. I know it's like tons and tons of chemicals. But that is, the general thinking is that it stops cancer. The sunscreen stops cancer. Yeah, I've just explained some examples of products there where they've been proven to cause cancer, which is glyphosate and Johnson & Johnson baby powder, and they're getting sued. So, there's quite a good precedence for this. And I just think, this, if people are going to go more and more down this route of reliance on external factors, let's say, relying on pharmaceuticals, relying on the medical profession to seemingly solve their problems, then, from what I can see with my own eyes, and, even what's coming out in the mainstream media, is that's not going to go too well for them. And it's not going to lead to a happy life. And, there are alternatives to this. I mean, I may have mentioned it on my last video, but I haven't used any pharmaceutical products for a very long time now. And I'm talking, I'm just thinking about it. It's got to be 5 years, probably more than 5 years. And I really was reducing them as well. I used to take loads of pharma. I've had really bad hay fever. I'd be overdosing on hay fever pills when all of that kicked in. If I went out drinking, I'd be taking headache pills the next day. And gradually over the years, I found alternatives. Actually, drinking one's interesting. So I don't remember slowing down my drinking at the time. But what I did do, rather than taking headache pills the next day, was switch to having wheatgrass. So I found that having wheatgrass the morning after, or even when I got in, really reduced the hangover, and it meant that I wasn't taking headache pills at that point, but it just meant that things were a lot better for me. So that's an example of finding alternative approaches using natural products. So this is like organic wheatgrass. Again, you've got to look at where it comes from. So if it's manufactured in China, you've got to be really careful, because do you trust the organic label from China? So, but this is unfortunately what we have to do now if we want to be healthy. I'm just going to put my gloves on because it is getting a bit shitty. Hold please. I wish I could just trust what I've been told and what... there we go. What our scientists tell us. But they've got a track record of being unreliable. So, I have to take it into my own hands. But I'm glad I have done that, because I'm a lot healthier now, and this has gone hand in hand. So looking at what I eat and what I removing pharmaceuticals, and now actually I don't eat meat, although I do eat fish and I do eat dairy, and this is not through some fad like moving towards veganism or something. I've just thought, that's going to save the planet or something. It's like, no, it was a natural feeling inside of me that I just wasn't really interested in eating meat anymore. And I used to love meat. I would go out on a night in Windsor, Cambridge as well, where I live now, and I would have massive kebabs, the stuff you scrape off that thing, the worst possible stuff, with loads of chili sauce, on top of however many pints of beer and what have you, and gin and tonics, and I would have bacon and sausage pretty much every day, and I just moved away from all of that stuff now. I'm just not. It doesn't resonate with me. It's not I'm trying to be a certain way. It's just naturally happened as I've raised my vibration and worked on myself using colour, which I'm a teacher of, colour mirrors, and using EFT tapping, practitioner in that area as well. And those things work on your emotions, and this is something that a lot of people neglect, or if they do look at it, it's through more mainstream approaches like cognitive behavioural therapy or so this guy I found online who's really, really good YouTuber, and he's an expert in trauma, and I've watched a lot of his videos. I'm going to put the link in the description box in case you're interested. And to me, he's describing the mainstream approach as a solution to trauma that the vast majority of us has experienced, whether it's very serious trauma. An example would be if you're in the military and something terrible happens, you see someone being killed and blown apart, and in the middle of the night, and it woke you up or something, and that's stuff that is extremely intense, and they call that the big T trauma. But then most of us, so this guy or post, he says around 75% of us have trauma, and it could just be the little T trauma, which is still affecting our lives massively. An example with that would be, just imagine you're a little baby and you're 18 months old, and you're in your carrier or your crib or something in the garden. It's a beautiful day, and you're just happily looking around, and isn't it lovely, enjoying yourself and playing, and then this insect or something lands on you. What a pretty little insect. It's yellow and black, and isn't that nice? It's a bit tickly. And then suddenly you feel this unbelievable pain shooting through your body, like just incredible pain, and you scream and scream and scream, and no one comes, and then maybe it seems like an eternity, and someone does come, and just the adrenaline coursing through your system, and the shock, all these very powerful chemicals, and then mother might come and comfort you, or maybe she's just in a bit of a bad mood and says, what's the matter, and the impact on that child can be absolutely huge from something like that. And this gets buried into your subconscious and forgotten about. So the subconscious then is basically will remember all of this, and its idea is that its strategy that it's got is it's going to try and protect you from this ever happening again. So it comes up with strategies, some techniques to help you avoid ever having that experience again. Now, that seems like a good thing, right? The problem is, it's actually a very negative thing, because those beliefs that are created and those strategies, when they're carried on into your adult life, could look like oh well, I'm going to push people away because if they get to find out what I'm really like deep down inside, they're not going to want to know me, so best to push them away before they get too close. Also, another strategy would be, if deep down I have this shame and I have these negative views of myself really buried away, then why would I want to show anyone the real me? That's not a good idea, because they're not going to like it. So I'll create a new persona, or I'll create wear a mask of a persona that I think is going to be more acceptable. And perhaps I'll keep adjusting that, but that's a strategy. And these are strategies that many of us employ. I mean, the majority of people do this sort of thing. And like I've mentioned before, in the corporate world, this is just normal. I mean, it's got to be a lot higher than average. I think the average people with trauma, this guy says, is 75%. In all of the population. I can imagine the corporate world it's a lot higher. And I think I said in my previous video, like, people are encouraged to bury their emotions or hide their emotions and just be very left brain, very logical thinking. And the left brain has its place, but when it's completely dominant, if it's 100% dominant, then that is, psychiatrists will say that is like psychopathy. If someone is totally, let's cross the road. Someone is totally left brain dominant, then they would be labelled as a psychopath at the extreme, or have some level of psychopathy. I mean, it's a sliding scale, right? Or they could be a narcissist, which is another label used, but it's basically the label is from what the child experienced and the trauma it experienced, and it trying to cope because it wasn't getting its needs met, and it came up with these strategies, and it's just got out of control. And then now ironically, control is a very left brain approach. And then when that individual is older, they could be labelled as a psychopath or a narcissist. So what is the solution to this? How do you heal from these things? And this healing that I'm talking about, by the way, it applies to the physical as well. So, I mean, a classic one would be stress that people have, but it could be, people also have like cancer or something like that. So if they're experiencing that, then it suggests that there's a lot of unresolved issues that they need to work, that they could work on in their emotional body, which would help resolve the physical issues. Now, I know this isn't the mainstream doctrine. This is a holistic approach, and that you basically look at the entirety of the situation. But more than that, it's my experience is it's the emotions are the most important things, and they're the things that we're told to ignore and bury. They're the things we're told in the corporate world just to don't express. It's not good to express anger. It's not good to express, other things, rage, dissatisfaction. It's let's just be happy all the time, and project a sort of happy persona, and that's going to be what everyone wants to see, right? But the problem is, if it's not real, like people can smell a rat, especially ones that are more awakened to themselves and more self-aware. If you're more self-aware and in tune with emotions, you'll be more aware of your sixth sense, if you want to call it that. And you'll notice when people are faking it. So, actually, this is something I notice quite a bit. And not to say I haven't faked it in the past and done some of these things that I'm talking about. But really, it's me working through my own issues that has helped me to gain these insights. And in fact, when I notice people are faking it, one of the things I have to work on now is it winds me up. It makes me angry because I feel like someone's faking it. So what I would do in that situation is clear on the anger that I feel. So it always comes back to you and not the outside world, which is the whole sort of ethos of the way I work. Because you can't change the outside world. It might appear that you can. It might appear that if you worry enough about the outside world or what's going on in the world and politics, and like I used to do, that somehow you can change it. And that's one view of reality. That's one view of reality. And it's one that I'm busy letting go of. Because it's not to say that it's wrong, it's just one view of reality. And a more I was going to say higher perspective, but I don't want to give it the idea that this is somehow better. It's just when you've cleared attachments to 3D reality, which is where, things happen to you, stuff gets done to you, you need to go to the outside world to get help, like doctors, or you got to go to, other institutions. If you want spiritual guidance, you go to the church, because they're going to give you spiritual guidance. If you want help with the law, you go to lawyers or solicitors, I should say, in this country. If you've got problems, health problems, then you go to the doctors. So everything is externalized. This is a good one, actually. I'm laughing now. This is probably the biggest joke, this one. If you have financial problems, then you will go to the bank, because they're going to help you, right, with your financial problems, and give you some loans from money that you create. But anyway, that's another story. Well, my point is, whatever it is in life, whatever institutions you want to interface with, it's externalizing your power, because you're basically saying, well, I can't heal myself, so I've got to go and take these pills because it's too painful. Look, I've had this where I've had issues where I've been extremely scared and it's been very painful, and I haven't gone to the doctor, and I've dealt with it myself. For instance, I got this hairline fracture on my foot, and it was absolute agony. But I was doing the tapping on the pain, and releasing the pain, and it took a while to heal. But you see, those feelings were inside of me anyway. So the broken foot was allowing me to access that pain that I was feeling, and was giving me the opportunity to release it, so that I never ever have to have that experience again. Now, I know this might sound like a very wacky idea, but like I said, it's a completely different way of viewing the world, and viewing reality is probably a better way of putting it. So this is my approach. This is how I work, and this is what I do with myself. So yeah, it's anything that happens, I'm looking at the emotional reason behind it, whatever it is, and I'm working on those emotions. So rather than externalizing it and saying, oh, that's someone else's fault, they skied into me or something, and now I've broken my foot, or broken some ribs. Actually, that one was very painful. It's instead going, well, I've got this pain inside of me, let's release the pain, and feel the pain. And then if I'm terrified because the pain is coming up and I don't feel I can stop it, I would tap on that as well and clear that, using the techniques I mentioned, the colour bottles and tapping. So without pharmaceuticals. So when I fractured my foot, I didn't go to the doctors, didn't take anything, and I let it heal naturally over the months. And that was my approach. And it was painful and it was scary at times, but that was something I know this works. I've built myself up to the bigger things like that from perhaps what might be considered the smaller problems that I've dealt with, like emotional problems. I wouldn't really say they're small, but that's always a good place to start. And things like stress, anxiety, where you haven't yet got a physical symptom, or you don't know you have, those can be a good place to start. And even the mainstream medical profession, a lot of them, I'm talking millions, recognise the benefit of EFT or tapping in those cases. It's just when you start to stray onto their turf with more serious illnesses, they don't want that. This is Midsummer Common, by the way. Because it's the winter, we don't have any cows. That's a little walk across it. So if I go back to the example I was seeing on LinkedIn, where someone has clearly got cancer, and from my perspective, it looks like always painting a rosy picture of things, like everything's great and everything's life so wonderful. Let's just be happy. Those two things could be linked, and I know that this guy has been watching his videos, the ones I'm going to post below. I forget his name. It talks about how anxiety and depression can be present when you're having to keep this facade up of everything's great, everything's wonderful, but really you've got a huge amount of anger that you want to express, and you just can't do it. Because what would people think? What would people think with you if you really expressed yourself? And it might be too much, and not everyone can handle that. So that's disease is dis-ease. So it's causing a dis-ease in your body. So therefore, it presents itself as physical illness. So what I'm saying is, the emotional side of things plays a massive, massive part in the physical presentation of illnesses. And this isn't considered at all by the mainstream medical world. In fact, even worse than that, they tell you to take antidepressants. So, what they are is, you're feeling suicidal, you're feeling terrible, and rather than look at the reasons why that might be, and I've given some examples there. It could be repressed emotions, trauma from childhood. It could be, you hate your job, you need to change your career. You hate your spouse, you're just with them because of the children. It could be all sorts of reasons. But instead of dealing with that, it's like, I know, I'll take a pill that's just going to make me feel happy and change my brain chemistry so that I don't have to experience this depression. Oh, it's getting a bit windy now, I hope you can hear me. And if you do some research on this and look into how many people in the United States, for instance, or UK, probably United States will be worse in terms of more people. How many people are hooked on these antidepressant drugs? And I don't know if there's any studies on this part, but I know it's an epidemic of these antidepressant drugs. But I don't know if anyone's done any studies on the number of suicides in those people that are taking antidepressant drugs. But from my own experience, I know of suicides of people who've been taking antidepressants long term. So, it seems to me that we have a choice. We have a choice, and not one way is right and the other way is wrong. I'm not saying, my way is the right way, believe it or not. I'm just saying it's a choice that everyone has as to whether we deal with our emotions and really want to go there and dig in. And there are tools, like I said, there's some fantastic tools, and it doesn't have to take a huge amount of time either. With the right tools, using colour and colour therapy and doing tapping, you'd be amazed about how quickly you can clear through the trauma and get back to yourself and be happy again, and be, let go of all of this crap. So that, that's one choice, is we can do that. And the other choice is we can go more into the external, and that could look like pharmaceuticals. It could look like going to anything outside of you, blaming the outside world, over which you really have no control of. It's an illusion. It's the only thing you can really do that makes any difference whatsoever, in my view, from my perspective, is to work on yourself, and then your reality will change. So some people call this a reality reflection, because your reality is reflecting what's going on inside of you. And again, this might seem a bit wacky, but it's like we live in illusion. We live in this hologrammatic illusion where whatever I'm experiencing and whatever's seemingly happening to me is I'm actually generating myself as an individual soul, and it's not affected by anything anyone else does. So I'm just going to say that again, because it's might seem out there, but I've got my own reality reflection. Whatever I see in that reality reflection, at the moment I'm looking at this beautiful winter scene on Midsummer's Common. So whatever happened to me now, I would be manifesting it. Say that dog over there, just about to see him. Say that dog ran up and then was all right, nice and happy and wagging its tail and wanted a pet, and I would have manifested that. Maybe I was feeling really like, maybe inside of me I've got love or positive vibrations, and it's a simplistic example, right? But another approach was a dog could run over and it could start snarling at me and barking and and going nuts, and that would be perhaps because of I would have attracted that, but the perhaps part is maybe I had some low vibrations inside of me, so I would be attracting something that would be low vibrational, which, an angry dog, anger is low vibration. Again, I'm not judging the anger, I'm just saying that it's a low vibration in terms of energy, in terms of it's vibrating at a low rate. And then, he's another dog. That dog would never do anything bad. It looks like a Labrador, so but there's my belief, right? I don't believe that Labrador would ever harm me because they're such sweet animals. So I've already got a belief around that, and that's going to help me attract a certain experience. Whereas if I saw a pit bull, I might have a belief around pit bulls. So yeah, I would be attracting to me based on my belief system. Oh, this is throwing a ball. Oh, little bubba. And based on the vibrations I have inside of me. So back to the example of LinkedIn, where people are posting, these sort of updates and things that are happening to them. Oh, hello, little bubba. Oh, he's coming over now. Hello. Hello. Oh. Hello. There you go. If by magic my point is illustrated. Where was I? Yeah. So, and again, this can be taken the wrong way, because it might seem that I'm not being compassionate towards others that are having severe issues, medical issues, or the families of those that have passed. That's not it at all. But this is the sort of deep stuff that I'm interested in, and to me, the answer is to go into all of this and to explore. And like years ago, people would be like, "Oh, what's the meaning of life? And wouldn't it be great if you could find out the meaning of life?" And one of the things I've realised relatively recently is the vast majority of people are not interested in that. The vast majority of people are not interested in learning about the nature of reality and about how behaviour patterns are transferred from generation to generation, and about the nature of the world we live in, even the physical nature, about our true history, about spirituality. And that's, again, no judgment on that. This is just an observation I've made, as they're not interested in that. They're interested in external solutions, quick fix type solutions that solve the problem. So it could be, if they're feeling like a spiritual crisis, they'll go to, I'm trying to get this church in over there. You can just see it. They go to one of those places on a Sunday. Again, no judgment. That's, I'm sure they get a lot of support and from the congregation and from the teachings of the whatever text they're looking at. But they haven't. It's going at a deeper level. It's going at a much deeper level, what I'm talking about, and actually connecting with yourself as the number one priority. And that is the connection that then changes everything. And it does take some effort. It takes unlearning a lot of the things we've been taught, because the system, if you like, society, is set up to stop you from going there. And every single turn you make, there's a external solution, and someone's got some opinions or ideas, and in the end you could be like, well, how can I trust anything? How do I know anything is true? It's just easier to go with the mainstream media, or it's just easier to believe what I was taught at school, or it's easier just to give in and believe what my religion tells me, even though something in the back of my mind is going, doesn't feel quite right. But it's just too much effort to look into that, and I've got bills to pay, and I've got children, and I've got all these other things going on, and it's like, I just don't have time to do that. Now, I don't have children, I do have bills to pay, but there's 1,000,001 excuses. And again, not judging those that choose not to look at this, because it is a choice. It's a choice if you want to stay in belief and believing what you're told, and it's a choice to start coming out of that. And there's never been a better time to come out of the beliefs, because we are in this period now of spiritual awakening, I would call it, and you may or may not recognize this, because I don't know what I thought a spiritual awakening would look like It's certainly not like this. My ideas of a spiritual awakening is not what's going on now, but I can see that that is what is going on now, and feel that that is what is going on now. It's just we're having the situation where this planet is having a lot of high vibrational energies coming into it, and you might have noticed differences in yourself. You might have started to think about things that are more sort of bigger picture things, like I've just talked about, like who am I, where did I come from, and or you might suddenly remember, hang on a minute, I'm a soul, I'm part of the universe, and we are all one. And you could just jump straight to that point, and then it's a case of dealing with all the emotions that come up through the what we were taught at school, and what our families have believed, and all of that stuff, and clearing it out. But there's never been a better time to clear that, because of the high vibrational energies that are coming in. So they're forcing these things to the surface a lot more quickly than they used to. So people are getting ill now, or passing, and it's happening much more quickly from the point where they took the external pharmaceutical product or whatever, or like the toxic substance, whatever it may be. Toxic products, their Diet Coke, their Pepsi Max, their Coke Zero with aspartame in. These things are slow acting, but not anymore. They seem to be happening really, really quickly. Fluoride in the toothpaste, fluoride in the water. So it's a choice, and the energies coming in mean that the choice is being presented to you quite starkly. It's like you have to deal with this stuff one way or the other. And I mean, one way of dealing with it, not one that I'm doing myself, is it's to go more into the system, and to suppress the emotions more, and to take more pharmaceuticals, and to watch more television, and read more mainstream media, and go and join a political party. I've done that before. Not that I would ever do that again. Versus the approach, the easier approach will be to start to address the emotions and heal yourself, and you can do that really quickly. In the past, I know people where it's taken them 30 years. Because back in the day, there wasn't this sort of energetic influx. There weren't that relatively many people on the planet who were awakened, so it was a lot more of an uphill struggle. Whereas now, it can be done much, much more quickly. And we are in this time of awakening, even though it might seem there's a lot of stuff going down in the world, but that's part of it. So let me just going to check my bit of paper to see that I didn't forget anything, because I'm coming at to like 50 minutes now, and I think I covered the psychological aspects, the shame, the trauma, codependency. I'm gonna, like I said, I posted the link in the description box, and that guy is brilliant. The one I mentioned. Just a final point on what he's saying. So I think I've never seen anyone, apart from someone who teaches me, who's extremely good at knowing about all this stuff. I've never seen anyone who's documented that as well as this chap has done with his free YouTube videos. So if you're interested, you could watch those videos for free and see what it brings up. For me, it brought up a load of stuff. And then, you can work on that. You could contact me. I'll put the address of mine and my partner's website in the description box if you want to reach out to us. We'd be more than happy. We'd be delighted to work with you on that. So the other thing I would say about what he's he does is, for me, he documents it really, really well, but the solutions he has, the sort of mainstream solutions that take a long time. It's like, oh, just think about what happened in your childhood and try and remember, and then if you get triggered, something happens and it triggers you, then, you know, try and catch yourself. And to me, that's it's too hard to do that. I mean, I don't know, if I get angry and something triggers me, it's not very easy for me just to go, oh, you know, I'm getting angry, let's just let that go and in the moment. It's what I need to do is to start tapping on it and to clear the anger, and to, you know, and that's a process, it's a technique you need to learn. It's pretty easy, but it's a technique you need to learn, rather than the mainstream approach is more of this sort of replacing negative beliefs with more positive beliefs. But I just don't see that works, because you're just putting on top of the negative, you're putting the positive. Like positive thinking, to me, that never ever works. You've got to get to the truth if you want to clear it and you want to feel better. And you know, I've got the tools, and my partner's got the tools. We both have researched this and worked on ourselves for many years, and we know they work. So happy Sunday. It is raining some more. I think I might walk into Cambridge now and have a little look around the market, but that's it for me. So thanks very much for listening, and I'll wish you a good day wherever you are. Cheers.